be introduced to your way of transforming or transitioning out of diseases?
Not so much my way, the way, because I am a recipient of the way also.
What is disease? It seems to be misinterpreted. Everyone is talking about departmentalizing or individualizing disease. When you have diabetes, it's different from having leukemia. When you have sickle cell anemia, most sin is not like leukemia. They're different. When they are not, they're coming from the same source. The mucous membrane of our biological structure has been compromised, meaning that the mucous membrane has been broken. Depending where the mucus is located, determine the disease that you would manifest. If the mucous membrane has been compromised in the nasal passage, sinusitis, in the bronchial tubes, bronchitis, on the lungs, pneumonia, in the pancreas, diabetes, on the brain, schizophrenia, paranoia, Parkinson's disease, insomnia. So we took the position, and we maintained that position, that there is only one disease manifesting in 1,000 different ways, the compromising of the mucous membrane. Think about not only addressing to one part of the body, just go for it. An intracellular cleansing, cleaning every cell. Now we have to revitalize the system. Live minerals, electrical.
If I said to you, Dr. Sebi, that I have issues with my kidneys, I know there's only one disease, right? And you're already proven
You
that.
remember that?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Potassium iodide, potassium bromide. What that does is to go into the kidneys and begin to break up all of the crystallization in there.
And calcification, man.
That's right. And clean the villi. And there goes urine. And it revitalizes the kidneys simultaneously. But the body is going through stress and is weak. But you will be able to recover from it if you continue on the diet. You have to maintain a certain diet, an alkali diet. It happened with Miss Emma Wright. Remember her? With the sickle cell? In 60 days, not one cell was sickle. We have to understand there are food designed for us, for our cellular structure. Then I begin to check the pH of all the herbs. I begin to test it. I test comfrey, acid. I test garlic, acid. I also tested aloe vera, St. John wort, rose hip, comfrey. All of these things are very acid. Carrot juice is extremely acid. Yet the healers in New York then and now are still recommending these acid foods. Cassava is cyanide, pure cyanide. Herbalists of today are recommending peppermint. Peppermint is very acid. Peppermint freezes the brain. Some even recommend peppermint oil. Peppermint oil is extremely caustic. So there's confusion in the population. See which are the alkali herbs. And I begin to see that burdock, yellow dock, elderberry, these are alkali plants. So the Virginia snake root, that's alkali. One has to know the herbs that are alkali opposed to the herbs that are acid. This today is not really considered. That the pH value had a lot to do with healing. Herbalists today are unaware that the pH factor has a lot to do with it. Meaning this, if God tell us that the herbs are for the healing of the nations, in the book of Genesis, in the book of Ezekiel, in the book of Exodus, and the book of Revelation, it says that the herbs are for the healing of the nations. Yes, it has to be made by God. If we eat something that God didn't make, we are running the risk of disease. Eat food that came out of the product of life itself. I don't care whether you're Chinese, Eskimo, Arab, or what. If you eat something natural, you're going to be healed. Our experience shows us that it crosses all boundaries. They said to me, Sebi, the one thing that you have in your favor is that you have cure and you are curing the diseases that others are not curing. So that is the barometer that tells us that the acid herb that they're using prevent them from reaching the goal that they're pursuing. We'll go to Peru, go to Colombia, marketplace in Africa. Why do you use this herb? They would give me these empirical, historical documentation. I would catalog the herb and send them to Lancaster Laboratory. What is the active ingredient in these plants? But guess what happened? Every herb that I got from those people who we considered natives, indigenous, the reading came back, cancer, high concentration of zinc, affect you sexually, a lot of potassium phosphate. From Peru, Honduras, the woman said it's good for your blood. How did they know? You know how they know? Just like the gorilla know what to eat. The gorilla doesn't have any nutritionists. But you and I, who went to school, who are educated and civilized, we need a book to eat right. We want to worship God, go buy a book. You want to see your way through it? Go buy a book. Well, how come these people in the jungle doesn't have all that? Because they are connected. I don't care what degree you may have. If you aren't cosmically connected, you cannot see. You are blind. And you
time couldn't do anything with his body. His body was totally disabled. And Dr. Sebi didn't even at first charge Teddy Pendergrass. Teddy Pendergrass started taking the compound. The way he determined that he was doing well, he began to start feeling pain. He began to say that something's wrong because he's feeling pain. He couldn't feel nothing previous to that. He is now questioning because he has in his ear Ayurvedic. I think he had an Indian doctor in his ear.
You remember that?
Because Teddy Pendergrass was funneling his money there, but getting no results. But at the same time, he also began to start becoming more sexually functional. And it wasn't him that was excited about it. His wife was more excited about the fact that he was. Because he couldn't go to the bathroom either. He had a little pouch. And he began to now go through this process of feeling that something was wrong because he kept going to the bathroom. Going to the bathroom, removing all the mucus and the sludge out of his body, and he's beginning to now feel again. And he began to start saying to Sebi that, man, I can't even sit in my meetings, and he feels it's interrupting with his music, so he wants to stop taking the compound, and he did. The end of that story, you know the end of that story. Teddy Pendergrass is no longer with us.
I'm not smarter than you. I'm not smarter than anybody in this audience. I just happen to be one that was spared to get the information to bring it back. But the information is mine. It's already coded in your DNA. It's been there because you recognize it. When you hear it, you recognize it.
Right? I mean, you feel it.
That's right. You feel it.
You feel it and knows it, right?
Because you have it in you. Right. Why do we have this message now? If the conditioning was as effective as they wanted to be, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
That's right.
Mama, as you said, she's number one. She's the one that set the standard and raised the bar. Right. People misinterpret her. And we help to perpetuate that myth. No, Mama was impeccable. That's why Mama didn't have religion. Mama didn't have a Bible. Mama didn't have a church because Mama wasn't sinful. Not being sinful, she didn't need to save her soul. Now we are civilized and we are sinful and we have to pay to save our soul. Further into the history of medicine, this is what I found, that the great Hippocrates used herbs to cure disease, and that he cured every disease known to man in Greece 365 years before Christ was even born. So when people tell us that only Jesus heals, you remind them that Hippocrates was here long before he was born, 300 years. If Jesus cured with herbs, Hippocrates cured with herbs, and God said the herbs, then what's up? Why aren't we curing with herbs today? Mm-hmm. You know something? Curing AIDS is easy. Mm-hmm. Curing sickle cell is like play for me. Diabetes, we cure 10 a month. There are centers in the United States that cure diabetes. We cure diabetes. Now, what are we going to do now? Once upon a time, when there were more white people coming to us. Chinese come to us. Japanese, we send compound to Europe, and they were cured. A little girl in New York that was brought to us with a hole in her heart. She's now 16. A little girl was brought to me in Atlanta that was blind from age 8 to age 11 with a tumor on her frontal lobe. She no longer has the tumor on her frontal lobe. And there's a little girl in Minnesota. She no longer has sickle cell anemia. I gave a lecture in New York, and a young lady came forth and said, I don't have lupus anymore. So these kinds of things tells us that we, the black race, has the answer. What I felt last night was more than I've ever felt in the years I've been doing lecturing. I felt a love that I never felt before. Mm-hmm. Tears came to my eyes last night. Mm-hmm. And it was funny, when the audience got up to leave and I look at them, I didn't see a crowd. I saw one energy.
Oh, yeah.
One energy.
Yeah, synergy, yeah.
It was so beautiful that I was overwhelmed. I'm going to tell you the truth. I was overwhelmed.